Well, thank you guys so much for being here today to learn more about Way Church and what our vision is, what the mission is, why we're doing this, and for, listening to the Spirit about how you might get involved with Way Church in some way, shape, or form. So.
Okay, that's my slide. All right, so we are officially, launching fall of next year, and so I do have a baby on the way, so that is kind of helpful for us. Yes, thank you. That is helpful for us because I'm due at the end of May, so fall is a good time to hopefully kind of get over those, first few months, and then, enjoy them, cherish them. But, work through the crunch of it, and then hopefully be up and running in the fall. So we don't have a for sure date or anything yet, but that's kind of projected, and then also in that, that does mean, unfortunately, we'll be ending our time here at Stone around probably the end of summer. But really, this is our mission, and this is what we feel called to, is to be for Toronto and for the kingdom. And so obviously, we are all in the city of Toronto, but there are some neighborhoods that are not as well reached, and so that's really the heart of why we felt this was the right time to do this. We will get more into the specifics of the neighborhood we're going to be in, but really, we just feel this heart for Toronto to see the kingdom of God come here, and I believe most of you share a heart with that, and whether or not that aligns perfectly with Way Church or here at Stone or elsewhere, I'm sure you can all, share in that vision we have and stuff. So the goal is, learning to walk in the way of Jesus and to love our city well. That's really what we're trying to do at Way Church.
Yeah, and so today we're going to talk about these core things as we talk about, as you kind of ask, why should I be involved with Way Church? This is what we're going to bring you through. Why Spadina, Fort York? Why is that the area that we're choosing to plant? What is the way? What is the meaning of the name that we have, and how does that speak to the purpose of the church at large? What we believe at Way Church, who we are at Way Church, the vision, and then the method of how this planting, I was going to say operation, I don't like that word, but how this plant is going to take place throughout the next year before we actually get to the launch date. And then we're going to leave time for questions because we want to know what you guys are thinking about it, what questions you have after the fact. So yeah. So the first question is, why Toronto, and more specifically, why Spadina, Fort York?
I just want to share a quick story. So we were, before we had any official conversations with even, I think maybe one conversation with Pastor Godfrey, but we hadn't gone to the district yet, and also just if anyone's curiosity, technically, because we're on the west side of Yonge Street with this location, we're not actually part of the Eastern Ontario district for this church plant, which Stone Church is. So we will be part of the Western Ontario district of the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada, which is the fellowship we're a part of. So same vision, same heart throughout the fellowship, but obviously different districts, so kind of different leadership in that way when you get a bit lower down. But anyway, so when we started having, I think our first conversation, Pastor Godfrey might have been there, and one of the, reps who we were talking about in the district who would kind of oversee some of the stuff we're doing was there, and we were talking about our heart to church plant. And I think we'd come with a neighborhood we really wanted to church plant in, but then when we said, we already kind of have a neighborhood we want, they were like, we kind of have key neighborhoods we're wanting people to plant in. And so we thought, I don't know what we're going to do, but that's kind of a bit of a conundrum, because we had a place in our hearts that we really wanted to plant. They had a place they really wanted people to plant. We said, we really want to plant in Spadina, Fort York. And they said, we've been praying for 7 or 8 years for someone to plant in Spadina, Fort York. And so that was the neighborhood they had identified as one of their neighborhoods of need. So I just thought that was such a confirmation to us, and just a sign that, that was really the first step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's cool how God kind of confirms those things and orchestrates those things. And the reason why they saw it as a high need area is that currently in this location, in all the blue area you see, there's very few churches reaching out to these neighborhoods, and very specifically where we're kind of targeting, which is the Spadina to Bathurst along Fort York and the surrounding area here, there's not a single church that exists there right now. And that's any form of church gathering at all. And so in the middle of Toronto, where there's 136,000 people living, there's not a church that's actively reaching out to that specific neighborhood and community. And so it's a very high need opportunity to actually be a light for the gospel in this neighborhood and in this community. And so our heart is really to bring Jesus into this neighborhood and make him known, and specifically serve this community and the needs that they have, to actually help them see who Jesus is where they are. And so we want to be very specifically targeting that area. And so in this area, it's grown 18% since 2016. The average age in the area is around 33 years old, which makes it one of the youngest neighborhoods in Toronto. And part of the reason for that is that a lot of people live there so that they can have an easy commute into work. But what that also lends itself to is a lot of people who live focused on their career, focused on their job, and that becomes largely what their life is about. And in that, there becomes this desperate need for community and for relationship. And so we see that need as an opportunity for us to bring community into a place that's longing for it, and to show a different kind of community through Jesus. And so in this area, 88% live in condos, in high rises, 52% live alone. And so again, that need for community and relationship is so, so important. And almost 50% are first generation immigrants. And so again, separated from your family of origin and looking for a new family in this community. And so, yeah, looking at the statistics, we're like, there's so much opportunity for the kingdom of God in this community. Imagine what happens when there's a community that loves one another, that has authentic relationships, that can really understand one another, and they're placed in this area where people are dying for that kind of relationship with others. They might not even know it. And so that's our heart, is to bring that into that community. So what is the Way? Why did we go with the name Way Church Toronto, and why do we at Way Church exist? Well, here's the start. The Way begins with who? Jesus. There it is. Yeah, the Way begins with Jesus. So Jesus lived, died, and rose again, revealing to us the heart of God through his life. He called his followers to walk in his footsteps, to love God and love people. And it's not just about belief, it's about a way of life. And so why does Way Church exist? It's to help people follow in the way of Jesus. Not just to learn about Jesus, not just to know that there's somebody named Jesus, but to actually understand what it means to walk in his way, to live out the truth and the hope and the life that he envisions for us. And we, as people who are part of the core team, want to be people who walk in his way, and as we do, bearing the fruit of the Spirit, show people why his way is so great and so wonderful. And so that's our heart for anybody who's considering being part of this team, so that we would be people who walk in the way of Jesus, and by that, people would come to be compelled to the way of Jesus and see the greater way through him. And so the way isn't just where it begins. The way is about transformation. We want to see people come from self-centered into spirit-led living, and we want to embody that as the core team. We want to be people who aren't focused on ourselves, what we can do, what we can accomplish, but people who follow the leading of the Spirit. We want to go from isolation to belonging. Again, this community is very isolated. There's such a need for community. And so we want people to realize that there's a place for everyone to belong, and that's in the community of Jesus. And then we want to go from searching for meaning to finding purpose in Jesus. So even just living in this area, Ash and I moved there in the summer, and we've been living in that neighborhood for a few months. There is a hunger for meaning and for purpose in life. And just through the brief conversations we've had with people in the elevators, in our building, and on the streets, it's like there's a hunger for it. And so we want to steer that towards where you can actually find true meaning in Jesus. And so, the way is about transformation. It's not about staying how we are. It's about coming to the way and being transformed through it. And the way is still continuing today. So Way Church Toronto exists as an extension of that mission of Jesus. We're learning to walk in the way of Jesus and love our city well. And our tagline is for Toronto, for the kingdom. And that just represents our heart, that we want to see the people in this specific area of Toronto encounter the kingdom of God, so that they can become part of the kingdom of God. So it's for Toronto. These are the specific people that we're meeting the needs of, that we're caring for, that we're walking in relationship with. But it's for the purpose of the kingdom of God, that they might encounter the better way of Jesus, and that might spark something in them and in the whole of Toronto to enter into the kingdom of God. So we believe that God's starting a movement in many ways. What we believe. So the way of Jesus is, and I'm going to say this part briefly, but this is what the way of Jesus is in general. It's God's story of love. In the beginning, God created humanity to live in relationship with him. Pastor Godfrey talked about this today. Humanity chose independence, and sin entered the world, which separated us from God. But God never gave up on his creation. That's where we come to Jesus, who is God with us. God came to us in the person of Jesus, fully God, fully human. He lived a perfect life and revealed a new kingdom, a new way to live. And where in this kingdom, love conquers hate. And serving others is the path of greatness. And Jesus gave his life out of love, and 3 days later rose again, defeating death. And then through Jesus, we have access to forgiveness, to freedom, and to life to the full. And he invites us to follow in his way, to love selflessly, to serve humbly, and to live fully for others. And so at Way Church, we're inviting people into God's story of love towards us and inviting them to grab hold of that so that their stories can be transformed through it. And something in that as well, sorry, before the slide, something in this as well is that I think it's so important that we know how to communicate the gospel to people. Oftentimes we start with, you're living in sin, but people don't know that they're living in sin. And so we need to be able to communicate the gospel to where people are, because the root of the issue is sin. But how do we actually identify that for people? How do we actually bring them to an awareness through anxiety and worry and fear and all of these things? That's built on the root, which is sin in the world. But people aren't going to identify that right away. They're experiencing loneliness and these kinds of things. We want to meet them there and bring them to the root of it and then bring them into the life of Jesus through it. That's what this story is about, and that's why we want to be able to communicate this as a team clearly and thoughtfully and compassionately to the world around us and the city around us that's in such desperate need of that community and that life. We can go to the next stage now. Take it away.
Well, that's us. Yeah, we're going to thank you. Yeah, Abby's been taking all the pictures.
Thank you,
so,
Abby.
yeah, and made this PowerPoint.
Yeah, and set up the phone.
And we should put her up here. So we're obviously taking on the role as like pastors of this church, and so that's really exciting. That's what else can I say?
All right, the vision. So our vision at Way Church is seeing our community transformed by the love of Jesus. I just want to say that one more time because I think it's so important. Our vision is to see our community transformed by the love of Jesus. And so our hope as a church is to make that happen. And it's not us doing anything, but it's us relying on God every step of the way to bring about that for people, because it's him who transforms. All we can do is help people enter into a place where they see him clearly and where he can do something in their lives. And so we want to be a church that's rooted in the neighborhood. And so for anyone here today who's thinking, oh, is this something I want to be a part of? I hope that this vision can identify for you whether how you might get involved with the church, because something that's really important to the core of our church is that this is a church that's rooted in the neighborhood of Spadina, Fort York. And so for people who already live, work, and gather there, we want to call you to notice the community around you and to reveal Jesus in that community. And so if you already live in that area, the Spadina, Fort York area, this call is really for you to partner with the church. We want to be a community church, a church that's for this specific neighborhood and meets the needs of this specific neighborhood and caters to this specific neighborhood so that they can know Jesus. And part of that is we want to be really intentional in building real community in the condo towers and the local spaces in this area. And so it's such a bonus if you live in this neighborhood because you're already doing life there. And so you just get to invite other people into that life, and you get to join things that are already happening in the area to share Jesus there and the love of Jesus there. And so we want everyone who's part of the church to really be rooted in this neighborhood and to put so much of our focus towards loving and serving and reaching this particular neighborhood with Jesus. I don't know who this quote is from, but I repeat it all the time. But it says, we could have a church in every building and still not reach everyone. So in the city of Toronto, if you just look around, if you had a church in every single condo, apartment, building, that still wouldn't be enough churches to actively reach the number of people who are in need of Jesus. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's not a fear that we might plant too close to somebody else or something like that, but it's like, we want to encourage every church plant in this neighborhood. We want to encourage every church plant in this city because we need more disciple-making communities that are reaching out with the love of Jesus to those who don't already know him. And that's a key part of what we're trying to do. It's not to just reach those who already know him, it's to reach those who do not yet know Jesus. That's the mission. That's what we're partnering with. And so we want to be a church that shares God's love in everyday life. So part of that is meeting people where they are through dinners, clubs, and friendships. So we're not always about starting something new. There's already things that are happening in the neighborhood, right? And we want to partner with those things that are already happening in the neighborhood. We also want to be part of creating things like run clubs, dinner clubs, board game nights, things like that that are actually actively meeting people where they are. We're not saying, oh, you have to come to our church service. We're actually doing life with people, and then we know that discipleship happens best in relationship, and discipleship happens before anybody even steps foot through a door. Yeah. Wow. Steps foot through the door of a church is what I meant to say. And so if our only form of discipleship is saying, hey, come to church, that's not the full extent of discipleship, right? People are going to see Jesus through our lives and our time spent with them. And so we want to meet people where they are, how they're already doing life. We want to build relationship and rapport and community with them. And then we want to invite them into the way of Jesus. And then to partner with us in that. And so we want to love our neighbors tangibly through service and hospitality. And so this looks like so many different things. I won't name them all, but there's opportunities to like serve water at races. There's opportunity to serve those in need in our community. There's opportunity to provide like pancake breakfasts in buildings and like things where it's like we see tangible needs and we get to actually serve those things. Maybe after school programs, all of these kinds of things. We want to love our neighbors tangibly so that they see the love of Jesus through that and are open to conversation about who he is. And then we want to show the hope of Jesus in simple and authentic ways. We're not just preaching at people, but we're showing people the way of Jesus and telling people about the way of Jesus and how they can partner with it. And then finally, we want to be a church that multiplies. So we're not about making disciples. We're about making disciples who make disciples. Because if you're truly a disciple of Jesus, that means that you're also going to be making disciples, right? If you've really caught what he's about and who he is, you're going to be making disciples. And so we want to grow through relationships, not just attendance. Our goal at this church isn't to have 1,000 people at our church. If that happens, cool, but we want to have relationship with each person. We want people to be invested in discipleship relationships at the church. So growth isn't just numerical growth, it's spiritual growth. And we're bringing people from a place of not knowing Jesus to understanding Jesus and then becoming disciples of him. Why are you laughing at it?
That wouldn't be cool if there were 1,000 people. That's really crazy. That would be insane. Yeah. I think we'd have to have like a church plant like church plant.
And then we want to be reproducible, sustainable, and led by the people who call this community home. We don't want any church to be built on a person or two people or 5 people. We want this church to be rooted in the community, and we want people who participate in this church to actually catch the vision for themselves and take initiative for themselves to be part of the discipleship that takes place there. Every member of this church is part of the very heart and body of this church. Just like every church calls us to do, right? We're a body. We're not individual parts. And so if Ash and I are not there one day, I trust that this church is going to go on and be stronger than ever. If the team that plants this church isn't there one day, I believe that this church is going to continue. We're here to create sustainable discipleship and to change a community and see it transformed by the love of Jesus. So that's the vision, rooted in the neighborhood, a church that shares God's love in everyday life, and a church that multiplies.
Okay, this is me. That's the wrong slide. It's this slide. Okay. So this is kind of our method, and this was draft one. I said it was a line. I said, but I feel like it's more of a cycle. So I don't know how we delete this. There's no way now. Okay, so we're kind of starting with community, and is there like another slide actually after this about with more? Okay, yeah, we'll get to that. I'll start here. Okay, so this is kind of the method, and I think we kind of start with community, and then I feel like it cycles through. Sorry, my stomach. Okay, so starting with community, we're really trying to build community, kind of as Gavin was just saying, in our neighborhood, and we've already kind of started the process of doing that, which we'll talk about later, and through that community building, and that's like not necessarily church-related activities, that's just community building and community outreach. Through there, we kind of get into this discovery period, this element of being able to cross over from just building community and friendship and groups, but actually bringing them into the process of, discovery of, okay, so like, what are you guys doing here? Why are you running this group? What is the point of doing a run club or whatever it might be? And kind of taking that curiosity and turning it into, we really love this community, and we really love this community because we just believe God loves everyone here, and what does that mean? And so kind of taking it from discovery into discipleship of these individuals and these people we get to meet, really actually getting to pour into their lives, walk with them, as Gavin alluded to, and really be able to do life with them. I think that's like such a corny thing, but like do life with, like really like the way we all do life together, right? Like the people sitting around you right now, these are your family that aren't your family, right? Like in the highs and lows of life, you're walking with them, you're having dinner with them, you're making weekend plans with them. We really want to disciple this community that is now in a discovery phase, and then kind of as we disciple them, like share Jesus with them in a really real way, and that might look different with different kind of things we have going on. And then obviously we hope to integrate them into like our church body. We have Sunday gatherings kind of as an element of that, but obviously it's much more than that. And then through that, the hope is that they will become disciples of Jesus. They will start to see the heart for what the church is, for why we walked with them from community to discovery to discipleship, and now into this, you're a part of this bigger body. You're a part of what God is doing in our city. Like, would you also join us in discipling others and join us in this process? And then the hope is those people will start to develop community in their communities, into discovery, into discipleship, and so on. And so that's kind of the cycle, the method. And then if we want to get a bit more specific about what we're doing, these are kind of core elements of what we've kind of been starting. So there are community groups, which is really building relationships. These are things like, we haven't really nailed down to any details of what they'll be exactly, but just different types of life groups, community groups, activity related things. I'll never forget, I have a friend from high school, and she last year started like a book club, and I was like, okay, I can probably come sometimes, but I don't know if I'm going to read the book every time. She's like, it doesn't matter, just come. And it wasn't really about the book club, I realized. She actually just started that club because she wanted a time dedicated every month for all of us friends to get together and like hang out and have dinner. And it wasn't even really about reading the book. It was just about come anyway. We're just trying to have community. And so really it's like that need's already there. People are already doing it. I think it's maybe our responsibility to start doing that as Christians and do that intentionally. And so that's what we want to do. Start with friendship, community building, things like that. And then also have discovery groups. So that's kind of the jump here, is now discovery groups are a bit more faith-based or faith curiosity-based. Things like Alpha, you'd be familiar with, are kind of the, out of breath, things like Alpha are kind of what we're talking about when we say discovery groups. We're actually starting our first one this Tuesday, which is very exciting. And I think we have quite a few RSVPs, which is very cool. So we'll be starting Alpha, which we're rebranding to Discovery Dinner Club. It's a bit sweeter to say, which is just Abby making us dinner, and we're just gonna eat the dinner she makes. Anyway, but for this week, it's lasagna. Anyway, but I think it's gonna be really fun, and we actually just kind of use the community and groups and relationships we already had of friends that we know that live in our buildings or in the area or work downtown, It's really those people we reached out to, who we've already built relationship with, to then be able to bring into our discovery groups. We have someone in our building that Gavin met in the elevator. She's coming, which is really cool, and so that will be exciting. Yeah, and then obviously discipleship groups, haven't really started on those yet, but that will essentially take people from the discovery groups who ultimately, hopefully, are on the journey to making a commitment to follow Jesus or have made that decision, and we obviously want to walk with them. That's more kind of Bible studies, meeting in people's homes and things like that, to just really continue to have like almost small groups out of that. And then from there, obviously next fall, we'll be launching our Sunday kind of gathering. Not that that's really like the heart of a church, but we'll be having, a Sunday gathering, and that will be hopefully a combination of all these different groups of people will be invited and able to come to that. And so that's kind of the pipeline. And then this is actually like the calendar. So we started our discovery groups this week, so that'll be on Tuesday this week, and we'll be ongoing throughout ever, I guess. Anyway, Tuesdays. And then community groups we hope to start in the new year. So that'll be things like those kind of more activity based. When I was able, I was running a lot, so a run club will be fun to get back to one day, but we have a lot of other runners in the group. Maybe a book club, things like that, like dinner clubs, other things, just community building, as we've talked about. Discipleship groups will start shortly after that, because the hope is by the time the first discovery group is finished, which is that first alpha group, they can then become a discipleship group, that same group of people. We can continue to walk with them, but now they're no longer just discovering Jesus, they're actually following Jesus, and we're able to walk with them as they follow Jesus. And then, as we've been saying, Sunday service launch to come in the fall.
Yeah, and actually just on that last one for a second. Sorry. So the point is that this is a continued cycle that we're going to go through, like Ashley was alluding to, is that community groups build relationships, and then you invite people from these groups and these relationships that you already have into discovering who Jesus is. And then as they come to a point of either making a decision to follow Jesus or wanting to continue to learn more about him in community with people who do follow him, they're going to be invited into smaller groups, which are discipleship groups, where people can actually actively do life together consistently and ongoingly. And those are going to happen. This will keep going as Sunday launches happen, but the Sunday launch is the opportunity where these groups that are going to be meeting outside of Sunday are going to have a space where they can come together to worship God and to lift him up and to even cast vision together about how our church is going to actively and ongoingly reach the community. And so that's kind of the process there. So how can you be part of our team? There's a few ways that you can be part of our team. How you can be part of the church. One of those ways is by being part of the team. So the ask here is, if you live in or near the Spadina Fort York community, you want to be part of committing to building community where you are and being part of this church in doing that. So if that's you, if you live in this area, this neighborhood already, or if you feel like you want to regularly be part of this community in this neighborhood ongoingly, and you want to build community there, then that ask is for you. And so if you want to join the team, what I'd encourage you to do is, on our website, we have a form that you can fill out just to talk about your interest in things, or you can just directly email me or Pastor Ashley. It's gavin@waychurchtoronto.ca or ashley@waychurchtoronto.ca, and just let us know your interest, and we can talk to you further about how you can get involved.
What's the website, Gavin?
Oh, the website is waychurchtoronto.ca. Right? Yeah. waychurchtoronto.ca. So follow that. And thank you so much, Debbie, for designing that website. And Abby for designing that website. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So
We didn't pay them.
they've done an incredible job making this website. So any more information that you want will be on that website. So feel free to head over there, find out more, contact us. But another way that we would love for you to be involved in what we're doing is, we realize that as much as we're doing these things, we're building relationship with people, we're living in community with people, we realize that none of this is possible without the work of God, right? We can do all the right things, but if it's void of God's presence with us, it doesn't matter. It's him who produces transformation and change. And so we would love for everybody to partner with us in prayer. And so also on our website, we actually have a prayer page of things that you can be praying for specifically for us, for the team, for the community, for the process, for all of these things. So you can regularly head there, or if you email us as well, we're going to start putting together a regular prayer list so that you can be up to date with what we're praying over in the community. And at the very least, you can just lift us up in prayer regularly. I believe that when we pray, God moves, right? And so let's be a people of prayer for Stone Church and for Way Church and for the church at large in this world, that God's kingdom would come and his will would be done in our communities. So we'd love for everybody to partner with us in prayer that way. Another way that you can partner with us is through giving. And so Stone Church has been so generous to be our first giving church as our sending church, and so we really appreciate that. And so they're going to be ongoingly giving to us and to other missions partners, and so you can give to the Stone Church missions regularly, and that would be such a huge support to the ongoing support for us and our church plant as well. So really appreciate that. Another thing that you can do to be part of what we're doing is to serve. You can use your gifts to serve in our groups, in our events. So if you want to join the team, we encourage you to serve and to use your gifts to reach out to the community. And so if you have an idea, as we were talking about community groups or discovery groups, and you think of something, you're like, I would love to see this happen, we would love to encourage you and empower you to use your gifts and your abilities and your interests to lead some of those groups so that the community can hear about Jesus. And so we want every member of the church to be a serving member of the church. And so, we encourage you to partner with us through serving. And if you have ideas, again, reach out to me, Gavin at waychurchtoronto.ca, or go to the website and fill out that Connect card, and just tell us the ideas that you have, and hopefully we can meet, grab a coffee, and talk about some of those ideas. And then finally, you can share. So you can tell other people about Way Church Toronto. That would be such a big support for us, whether it's somebody who you think, I think they live in that community and they'd be a great fit to partner with this church plant. I'd love for you to share information. You can share our website with them. You can share our contact information, our emails with them. Or if there's other people that you think would be great to partner with us, whether through prayer or financially, you can send the website that has all the information for both of those things on it. And so, that's how today, I hope everyone can partner in some way with us. And I hope this can be a helpful guideline for how you can specifically partner with us in what we're doing in the community and what God's doing.
Yeah, and I think in the next few months, we don't have it up here necessarily, but we'll be starting a newsletter as well. So if you give regularly, or you just want to be in the know, we'll have a newsletter going out, which you'll be able to find all that on the website.
So, this statement is so true for us. God's already at work in Toronto. He's already at work in this community, and we just get to be part of it. And we all get to be part of what he's doing in the city, right? So
Great commission.
Exactly. So whether it's here at Stone or whether it's with us at Way Church or wherever it is in the city, we're all part of this mission, and that's so exciting. And so we're so excited about what God is going to do throughout this city and throughout this world for his kingdom. So we just wanted to give some space. If you guys have questions, that's the end of the information load on you. Just ask us any questions and we'd be happy to talk about it. Wow.
So how do we go about serving? We get in touch with you?
So if you're interested in serving, you can email me, Gavin at waychurchtoronto.ca. I'm used to saying Gavin at Stone Church. Gavin at waychurchtoronto.ca. And we can talk about ways that you can serve. And the nature of how we'll be serving will change over time, especially because the Sunday launch doesn't happen until next year, right? So serving in the church service won't happen this year, but there's certainly other ways to be serving, whether it be leading or being part of and helping with one of the community groups, whether it be a run club, book club, games night, any of those things, or any ideas that you have, after school programs, or whether it be being one of the leaders in our Discovery Alpha group. That we're definitely searching for leaders to be part of that with us in the future as we go through more and more cycles of this. And then even if that's being part of a discipleship group, there's so many ways to serve. So just email me and we can talk about, where you're specifically interested.
I've got to go, sorry. But 30-second answer, fall 2026, when you start your Sunday gatherings, where do you see that happening
Yeah.
physically?
Yeah, so the hope and expectation is that that's gonna be happening at Canoe Landing Community Center. So it's the community center right in the heart of the community, and it's really cool because there's dozens of buildings surrounding it, and it's just kind of plopped in the middle there of like literally thousands of people. And so we think that's the perfect spot to plant a disciple-making community, to reach out to those various buildings. And we know kind of like the rental costs and those kinds of things, and so that's option one. And then option two,
The Lord will provide.
the Lord will but yeah, great question.
We definitely have a condo. But
Not really houses there.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
We do want to I just should make to the point of like the house church. We don't necessarily want to ever host it in our condo or our party room, just because I think that might associate it a bit too much with like it's our church, which it's like we're pastoring this church, but you know, should we not be there in a few years, decade, whatever, you want it to be able to go on and be sustainable by a group of people and other leaders. And so I think by associating it, I mean, I know house churches work in some situations, but I think, our thought is that we don't want it to be a bit too connected to us.
We want to be a community church,
Yeah.
so we want it to be able to, go on beyond. Yeah.
I think it's a great location because I moved down there 13 years ago from Brimley and Steeles, and I used to go to APC and I couldn't find a church.
Yeah.
I live at Spadina and Queens Key, like a block from Fort York.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
that
right
is-
there.
And I finally had to go on the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada to find a church, and I found Stone Church, and that was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a great area. They really need a church there.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, because I used to attend a few churches in that area. They had one church right by Queen and Spadina, and then there was another one right by Queen and Bathurst. But then when those churches shut down, it was really almost just like a drought, right? Where like the community was still searching for that connection. So it's really good that you guys are able to plant that church in that location, be able to bring more life back to the community.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's why we're really intent on making this as sustainable as possible, a sustainable church that goes on apart from just like the lead team, but like in the church is rooted, or sorry, in the community is rooted and sustainable and ongoing, despite what happens financially and situationally and all of those things. So there's deep need, and so we want to be a church that's planted there for a long, long time, because there is that need for it in the community. Any other? Yeah.
So are you guys going to be looking to connecting with the community centers and different organizations like that in the community as well?
Yeah, we really want to be part of the community as much as possible, and so like I know you have.
Yeah, I
ideas
have
of-
big plans to get onto the board of that community center. That's my plan. So it starts with, we booked a slot for badminton next week. So that's our end. Yeah.
But yeah, we're really trying to be intentional.
World
Yeah.
domination.
But you know, maybe I know. Like me and like,
One birdie at a time.
yeah. So
That could be you guys if you plug into playing badminton at one of the community centers. You too could
Could
be on the board.
board.
Well, pickleball sells out too quickly.
Yeah.
I don't even get a chance.
Gavin got up at
Yeah.
7. He was there at 7:59, and then at 8 he went to click it, and it was gone.
It refreshes every Thursday at 8 a.m. I've never seen it actually sit there. I was there at literally 7:59, no left.
Yeah. So we're trying. You know, the enemy trying to get us, but we
Pickleball's
pivoted to
too popular.
badminton.
We're gonna have to hang out on the sidelines for pickleball.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Congratulations.
Okay, are there any other questions?
Great slideshow.
Oh, Abby. Yeah.
Thank you, Abby. Round of applause for Abby. Now, we do have some core team members with us already that we want to kind of introduce to you guys. Are you guys all okay with that? Yeah? Okay, amazing. So we'd like to invite them up with us. So these are people who have already committed to being part of the launch team. So we've been meeting weekly over the past few months to talk about and pray about what this plant is going to be and what our mission is and how we're actually going to actively take part in serving the community intentionally. And so this is our core team who we meet with. And so if you can keep all of us in prayer as we're all doing this together. And if you have any questions, any of these people are more than qualified and able to help you with those questions and talk through them. So yeah, thank you guys so much for partnering with us. And yeah, they have so many cool ideas and incredible gifts, and so we're so excited for getting to do this together.
Yeah. Totally. Okay. Wow.
All right.
God be with you. Yeah.